This was the final 8 seconds of 25-year-old Mason Lowe's 118 years of professional bull riding at the National Western Stock Show in Denver. Up until 2019, no one had ever died in the sport. At least 21 deaths had been documented since 1989, but nothing had prepared fans for the tragedy that would occur on that specific Tuesday in January 2019, saw the tragic death of bull rider Mason Lowe. But how did he end up in the sport in the first place? His parents, Stacy Lowe and Melissa Reed, moved from Springfield, Missouri to Exeter, a town of less than 800 people, where rodeo was the most popular sport. Mason's dad and his cousin rodeoed, so it's safe to say that he was just born into it. It should come as no surprise, then, that Mason grew up riding on his family farm, became interested in bull riding when he was just a toddler. In fact, it was reported that when he was 3 years old, he began riding the milk caves on his family farm. According to him, we used to go out there and feed him, and my dad would stick me on the back of them and let me ride them. I just thought it was so much fun that it wasn't long before he graduated onto steers without taking anything from the passion of young Mason. There weren't many opportunities to be. Growing up, Mason watched professional bull riding and even named Chris Shivers as his role model. Shivers had turned pro in 1997 and won the Professional Bull Riders World Championship in 200 and 2003. As you might expect, Mason entered junior rodeos because he was so good at it. He was also a professional football player, baseball player, basketball player, and children who were raised to apply themselves to their greatest strength. He left high school rodeos to pursue amateur bull riding at the age of 15, and by the time he was competing across the Midwest, it was clear that Mason had advanced so quickly due to his advanced skill. He frequently claimed that he had skipped the high school portion of the process, and that he occasionally regretted not competing at the high school level. But he also felt that the amateur competitions had better prepared him for professional tours. At the age of 18, Mason turned pro and rose through the ranks as one of the sports. He competed at his first professional bull riders event in Arkansas in 2011 and eventually became a full-time rider on the highest level tour in 2015, qualifying for 3 consecutive Professional Bull Riders World Finals. Mason, who was ranked number 164 among world bull riders after his first season, admitted he was enjoying himself. Top prospects were described as bull riders who couldn't have fun if he wasn't pushing himself to the limit. His best year on tour, saying, "It's pretty awesome, it's been kind of a dream, so I've been kind of rolling with it." In the summer of this year, he suffered a minor injury dealing with a wrist injury between seasons. At the beginning of his second season, he was regarded as one of the talented up-and-coming riders in contention with the veteran riders, and they weren't wrong. Mason was unable to compete over the winter, spending time in California to prevent injury. He returned in February 2017 at the Sprint Center in his home state of Missouri. He was ranked 12th in the world at this point. He then went back to Springfield for the annual Professional Bull Riders competition near his hometown, where he finished at number 14. At the Iron Cowboy competition at the Aton DT Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Mason became the second rider to complete a ride on Smooth Operator in competition with a 9,075-point ride, which pushed him up to 9th in the world rankings. However, in early June, he sustained a minor injury from a completed ride that caused him to limp for a while. But didn't a testament to his abilities? He won his next ride with another 8-second stay, in the 2-round competition at the 14th J.W. Hart Professional Bull Riders Challenge. This achievement put him in 11th place in the world, and by the end of the season, he had earned over 100. However, by the beginning of the following season, Mason had fallen further down in the rankings, now sitting at 14th. It was clear that he was very focused on reaching the top while making sure he was taking care of his family, he said. A lot of the riders say riding close to home is the toughest. But I've always thought riding near home is a good place to ride. They get to watch me on TV every week. But it's a lot different when you get to see it in person. It's kind of like a big rock show on wheels with bull riding attached. His 3 qualifications for the Professional Bull Riders World Finals demonstrate how much he loved this sport and his family. When January 2019 arrived, Dot and Mason set their sights on the National Western Stock Show in Denver, which was the Professional Bull Riders Velocity Tour event held at the Denver Coliseum. The National Western Stock Show, also known as the Denver Western Stock Show, is an extravagant event that includes 30 rodeos, 11 horse shows, and a variety of other attractions just a few miles from the center of Denver. From 2015 to 2017, Mason missed the opportunity to make it 4 after failing to qualify in 2018. Since the first show in 1906, the stock show has been a place where generations of farmers and ranchers spend time reconnecting with old friends, learning about new approaches and techniques in agriculture and ranching, and doing some research. This is because the show opened their eyes to Western tradition and the undeniable significance of agriculture and ranching industries, which is why over 700,000 people flock to it every winter from the concrete jungle. There has never been a death mentioned in the 113 years that the event's bull riding has taken place until January 15, 2019. The art of bull riding was all about those 8 seconds of pure chaos, during which the rider had to sit on roughly 500 pounds of raging muscle while holding the bull's rope with only one hand. The timer starts when the bull's shoulder breaks the gates plane and leaves the chute. The business continues year after year, and the games and various competitions were simply a means of promoting that unity and sense of community. The rider cannot use their free hand to support themselves or hold on to anything while they are on the bull. The timer goes off until the rider's body part touches the ground or their other hand touches the bull. If you are unable to stay on the bull for the entire 8 seconds, you will not receive any points for qualifying, even though the bull will do everything in its power to get you off its back. You must demonstrate your level of control over the animal and your skill. Mason arrived at the stock show ranked 18th in the world, and he said that this drop in the rankings wouldn't have any impact on his performance. He said, "I was taught to keep going even if you're hurting a little bit. If you're hurting a little bit, just keep going at it, and hopefully it'll pain a way out." He also mentioned that his success throughout his career has been attributed to his ability to keep his head clear and not think, and that this state of mind was particularly crucial whenever he was inside the chute with the bull before the gate opened and the ride started. Mason's mentality was necessary in a sport like bull riding, where the most important thing was that 8 seconds. When it was time for the draws in Denver, Mason drew his lot, and it was the bull named Hard Times. Despite its name, it's important to note that Hard Times wasn't a particularly aggressive or notorious bull, unlike some others. He stated in his philosophy about the ride itself that you can't really think about it when you're out there. Once you start thinking about what the bull's next move, it's a second too late. But of course, Hard Times was strong and very athletic, weighing over a ton, and like any other bucking bull in the arena, whenever the chute swung open and they felt the weight of a human on their back, they simply felt that natural urge to buck their riders off. This was evident from the fact that other well-known bucking bulls, like Bodacious or Bushwhacker, had participated in more than 30 events without suffering any injuries. On this fateful Tuesday, the 25th, 5-year-old Mason put on his protective suit and prepared to be the best of the best. He sat on the bundle of muscle, heavy bones, and tough skin, and he was ready. The audience screamed as the gat swung open. At other times, he had touched the ground before the 8-second mark and had lost to the beast. In those moments, he had bowed his head, reviewed his mistakes, and decided how to defeat the beast. Hard Times exploded out, kicking and bucking, but Mason remained focused and held the bull rope tightly with his gloved hand. This wasn't his first time, but every time a new match started, it was usually the same raw emotion as the massive Hard Times continued to buck and giate beneath him. The crowds couldn't help but get so excited that they were practically screaming Mason, and Hard Times couldn't have cared whether the noise was praise or jeers because they were locked in this battle. Hard Times lurched violently with a mighty buck as the second dragged on, and the pound of muscle sent Mason flying into the air. While in the air, Mason attempted to reach out and grab a handful of fur, but his hand felt nothing. Unfortunately, Hard Times was still bucking, and Mason tried to stay on top, but he was pulled under the bull. He landed unprotected right where the bull's hooves were coming down, and the crowd, which had been screaming uncontrollably, couldn't believe what they were seeing. Mason stood up and attempted to walk, but he had only taken a few steps before his leg buckled beneath him, and he crumpled in a heap. Everyone was shocked by the abrupt turn of events. This had never happened before. Mason lay motionless, and other riders raced to get him off the arena and straight to the hospital. Witnesses reported that Mason appeared to have it under control, but he was bucked off at the last second, staggered towards the exit, and collapsed. It was quite serious. Mason was taken right away to Denver Health, where he passed away on Tuesday from severe heart valve and aortic damage, according to USA Today. Fans were shocked to learn that Mason had died. They had only seen him sitting on Hard Times a few hours prior, ready to leave the chutes. Professional Bull Riders CEO Shan Gleon released an official statement saying that Mason's passing was devastating to all of us and that our thoughts, prayers, and deepest. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and wife Abby at this very trying time. It was confirmed that Mason Lowe had passed away, and that his newlywed wife Abby, their dog Gator, and his family were all left behind. The tragedy was severe, and nobody could have predicted the loss of such a bright star. Even Paul Andrews, president and CEO of the National Western Stock Show, issued a statement saying, "Our entire rodeo family and every member of the stock show community is saddened by the loss of bull rider Mason Lowe's family, his fellow bull riders, and the entire Professional Bull Riders organization are in our thoughts and prayers." The National Western Stock Show and the Professional Bull Riders will hold a tribute tonight in Mason's honor because the competition he participated in was scheduled to conclude the following day. All of the riders wore special patches to honor Mason. Gleon explained this symbol of respect. Our top priorities are Mason's family, as we support them following his tragic passing. Followed by Austin Shirley, one of Mason's friends, spoke about his late friend, Hell, who was a cowboy's cowboy who could rope ride and cover any bull. He never forgot where he came from when he made it big time, and never forgot his roots as a friend. He added that he was just an all-around great guy, and someone you were proud to call a friend, whether you met him once or saw him every day. This was a very sad ending for Mason's brothers-in-arms in Denver, who are getting ready to soldier on, strap in, and compete tonight. It was clear that Mason's shoes would be difficult to fill in his beloved shoes. It hurts. Another voice commented on Mason's personality, explaining that even after the young rider's professional career took off, he returned to Southwest Missouri to compete at local rodeos and teach junior cowboys tricks of the trade. He was a good guy who came up tough. His family rodeoed and had cattle and other things. Just a hard-working country kid who could ride bulls well. According to reports, Mason's hometown was dealing with the rider's death and helping his family. Someone said, "Everyone is keeping their heads up and going on, but in people's minds, everybody is thinking of the family." The Bull Hard Times continued to compete in the professional bull rider circuit because, according to league officials, the animal's actions were completely unintentional and had no malicious intent. Mortalities are uncommon in bull riding, though, and Mason was the only third person to die. The death of bull rider Lowe Frost in 1989 at the Cheyenne Frontier Days altered the way officials viewed safety in the 1994 biopic 8 Seconds. The bull's horn rammed Frost in the back, breaking several of his ribs and severing an ankle. Another bull rider, Glenn Keeley, was killed at an event in Albuquerque, and Gillard Antonio died last year in Brazil. The Professional Bull Riders rider has been killed in action since the organization's founding in 1992. The Professional Bull Riders Rider Safety Guide states that all bull riders must wear a protective vest in order to compete. Younger bull riders born after 1994 were also required to wear helmets, which is another significant change from the 1980s. Cody Lambert, his traveling partner and the founder of the Professional Bull Riders, designed the protective vest after his death. It is segmented and very similar to a bulletproof vest. Some have even referred to it as horn-proof because it disperses impact over a wider area. In the 1990s, a former bull rider remarked, "Ed, breaking ribs was super common in my day. Since Frost's death, it's way less prevalent. It's pretty freaky there are close calls. Everyone in the sport has it in their mind that it's seriously dangerous, but it's very rare for someone to die." Gleon added, "Bull riders understand and accept the dangers of their sport. They know the risks." Following Mason's death, the Professional Bull Riders organization claimed that no safety changes had been made. According to Professional Bull Riders spokesman Andrew Gangola, the Western sport that has earned the moniker the most dangerous 8 seconds in sports is as safe as it gets. The organization looked into potential safety changes following Mason's passing, but concluded that the incident was an anomaly and did not call for changes to its current procedures. Nevertheless, the Professional Bull Riders have paid tribute to Mason in other ways, such as renaming their annual Premier Series event in St. Louis as the Mason Lowe Memorial and introducing the Mason Lowe, the Professional Bull Riders. Also established the Mason Lowe Memorial Scholarship Program to help students pursuing education in rodeo western sports or agriculture. Mason Lowe's death was tragic, and his passing continues to be a major lament in the world of professional bull riding, but many who loved him and fellow riders are thankful that the man lived life to the fullest. The award is given to the rider who scores the highest single ride during the regular season of the Unleash the Beast series.